Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 4. It's getting to be quite a thing together, isn't it? Episode 4 of the Cord Electric Player's Guide. What we're going to look at today is continuing on looking at contracts, talk about the actual keepers, make sure we understand this concept clearly, the key contracts in combination with the keepers and who you're supposed to keep, how you can keep them, a complex part of the system. If you get this down, if you can cross this hurdle, you have crossed the threshold and are a true Cord Electric guru, and you'll be just fine managing your team. So last episode of course, we looked at want. We bid on want. We use want for both the auction bidding and the RFA restricted free agency attempts to sign. Now, when we have our team, if we go back to the auction tracker, we can look at an individual team. Let's look at, we can use mine as an example here, the Mercy Sundance. Now, if we look at the Mercy Sundance here, we can see that I have 5 keepers. I have a pretty straightforward team post my trade of Paul George. And even that trade, if you look at it, may seem very confusing, like a giveaway. I gave up like a ton just for Ty Lawson. But when you look at what I was trying to do or develop underneath the cap, it starts to make more sense. Arguably, still, I gave up maybe too much. But so the big key again, as I talked about, we adhere to the real NBA salary cap, which is $58 million, roughly $58.7 million. Now, that is the overall cap when you leave the auction. So when you leave what we consider unrestricted free agency, which is also the auction, when you actually bid on other players. When you leave that auction, your salaries cannot go over basically $58.7 million. If for some reason someone makes a $100,000 mistake or cheats a tiny bit, we're not going to sweat it too much because of the complexity of this system. But basically, that's the limit of what you have, $58.7 million. Now, that is the overall. Your 15 players can only add up to that in any given year. But your keeper maximum, and this is a big key, your keeper maximum is half of that value. I often refer to it as the half cap or the keeper cap. There is a half that value, which is roughly then about $29.3 million. So you can keep $29.3 million worth of keepers season to season. That can be spread among 5 veteran players or less. And I key in on that veteran players idea because rookie contracts are separate from this system. So 5 veteran players or less, and the other key there is for less. You could have one player that was making $29.3 million if you wanted to, or 2 players that were making $14 million a year or something. So but you cannot go over 5 veterans. This is a very hard limit. If you're matching a player, you end up being a little bit over this half cap, a tiny bit, for a few different reasons. That's relatively okay, a tiny bit, but what you cannot do, and very key, you cannot ever keep more than 5 veteran players from season to season. So you're going to enter the auction, the unrestricted free agency idea, with somewhere between 10 and maybe about 5 open slots to bid on players. And that depends on how many rookies you have. And we'll get into that idea probably next episode. We'll see. But key here is 5 veterans can be kept for a total of $29.3 million. So you can see actually on the auction tracker here, I have $29.3 million worth of retained contracts. My 5 players that I have add up to $29.3 million, and they're all under contract. So I pretty much ended up being exactly under the cap with this Ty Lawson trade and getting rid of Paul Gasol. So I have $39,000 left, basically that hedge number. So I'm exactly at the cap with my 5 keepers, like exactly perfect. So I am right there. You can see that current retained left is your big note about what you have left and what you before we go into the auction and free agency and things. You can see other teams like the unnamed. Lated is $18 million over. He's going to have to deal with that. G Hills Filas, he's going to have $15 million over. He's going to have to deal with that. I was before my Paul Gasol trade was like $7 million or something over, so I did deal with that. Rockafire is well under, though he has qualifying offer guys, which is a totally different deal and stuff. But so we've got a few teams that are definitely over the cap. Other teams have got a little cap wiggle room to be able to do some things with. So we have this list of these 5 players. So I've got my 5 players, Joakim Noah, Ty Lawson, James Harden, Derrick Rose, and Eric Gordon here. Their values for next season add up to, look at that, $29.3 million. So I've got my exact number. It doesn't matter what their next year's values are, if they have multi-year contracts or not. It just matters that my 5 vets that I'm going to go into the auction with add up to $29.3 million. Okay, got it? Great. Now, when you go into pre-auction, you have to figure out that value. So you have to figure out your 5 keepers. If you choose to, if we take a look at someone like, let's see, someone that is over the cap. Shake and Jake is $7.5 million over the cap. He has 5 players, so that's great. Like, he has the requisite number of players there, but he's $7.5 million over. So he's going to have to deal with that, and that's quite a bit of money, certainly. So he has to somehow figure out a way that he can cut a guy or trade a guy or something to get rid of that number. He has way too much. Now, the key there, Kevin Durant, he's certainly not going to get rid of. Kevin Love, he's not going to get rid of, even though both of those would actually solve his problem. Kevin Love actually wouldn't, even if you look at his value of $7.3 million, but Shake and Jake is $7.5 million over the half cap. So, in fact, even if he just straight cut Kevin Love, brutal, which he wouldn't do, but even if he did, that wouldn't solve it. Andre Iguodala and Ryan Anderson together would not. Now, you may ask, why did Shake and Jake put themselves in this position? Now, it's easy to do. You sign an extra guy because you signed more guys to multi-year deals in the auction to save on money. You give a guy a 2 or 3 year deal, or simply the inflation. Contracts go up by 10% a year. Next season, I will not be able to keep these same 5 guys. Even if I win the championship or something, I will not be able to retain this, like the Dallas Mavericks a few years ago or something. They couldn't keep Tyson Chandler because these guys' contracts would go up by 10%. Ty Lawson's and Harden have multi-year deals on that. Even if I end up getting Rose, Gordon, and Noah for the same deals or something, I would not be able to keep this core together because just because of the 10% raises, if nothing else. So certainly that comes into play. Now, in Jake's case, Shake and Jake's case, he's going to have to solve that. Most likely, if he can't get a trade or the expansion draft, no one gets taken or something, I would probably look to, and gosh, he's so close, but so it's almost unfair in a way, but that's the way the numbers work. I would probably look at him cutting maybe Steve Nash and Ryan Anderson, both of them. Now, if a player has a deal left and you cut them, it's what we call the amnesty. Now, I hope some new owners or old owners are listening to this because previous years we were allowing what we called a super amnesty that allowed a one-time get rid of a contract completely for free, no harm or anything. We did that last year pretty much as a favor type idea because we were all kind of learning the system. This year, the new owners from last year, St. Paul Skanks and the unnamed, we're actually giving them one free extra super amnesty. I just decided to do that earlier before I started setting the stuff up because they were new to the league. Give them an opportunity to be forgiven once. We all got that opportunity before. I think it is fair because they were new owners. Now, but Shake and Jake does not have that opportunity. So if he wants to amnesty, he's going to amnesty. He's probably going to have to amnesty 2 guys if he can't figure out a trade or doesn't lose anyone in the expansion draft. So what is he going to incur? If we look at the contract values here, and you can always email me or ask me about any of this, and I can look it up for you, but you can look it up yourself as well. Let's say that he did want to amnesty Steve Nash and Ryan Anderson. Now, Steve Nash makes $6.4 million this year. That was a 2-year deal, but the final year in that contract was $6.4 million. So we can look at the $6.4 million value here. $6.4 million is what he made on the 2-year deal. Now, if we just simply move the chart over, and he is in the final year, I maybe need to clear up that language to make it understood that if he's in the final year of a deal, this is the value. He has to pay out $2.5 million to Steve Nash. So that will cut Steve Nash from his team, but that $2.5 million will go against not his half cap, but it'll go against his full overall cap as dead money. So it's basically a payout to say that this player will get this money, and he's in the auction, so he's in unrestricted free agency. He's his own free agent, and but we are giving him an effective payout to get rid of to get off our team. So that $2.5 million will reduce the amount of money Shake and Jake have in the auction, but it does help get them under the limit, and then he would have to do the same thing for Ryan Anderson or Iguodala or someone, and then he would actually get under that 7.5 number. So I got to finish up this episode here. I want to leave it under 10 minutes. So again, what you'd look at is if you had a guy with a 3-year deal or something, you would look at, okay, is it the second year into the 3-year deal, which would be this one, or is he into the third year, which is significantly less? How much money go out? So if you had a guy that say makes $8.5 million going into his third year of a 3-year deal, $8.5 million. Well, let's look over, and he has a payout of $3 million. So $3 million is incurred as a cap penalty. We're going to finish it off there, and we're going to talk a little bit more about keepers, including qualifying offers and restricted free agency in next episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.